Hey, Scott Spears back with you here on Election Night 2012, and we are having a good time. A lot of great state elections going on, presidential election, issues all over the place, and we're now joined via telephone by one of my favorite people, a resident of the great state of Ohio, swing state as it were. As I said, one of my favorite people, an all-time good guy, author, the man with the golden voice, Ted Williams. Ted, are you there?
How are you, Scott? Listen, as you mentioned, man, it's a very, very close situation going on here. At least I would love to have been at one of the campaign headquarters of my choice. I don't know whether we could be politically correct here. But after we find out the returns, you'll hear my adulation for the best name.
Well, Ted, let me ask you point blank, because I went to your Facebook page and a lot of people were asking political questions. You didn't really answer them. You've been on some shows and kind of avoided it. Here we are on election night. We're in the thick of it. Have you endorsed anybody? Do you endorse anybody? Do you have a favorite?
I think, Scott, you may have lightweight touched on it before in one of our interviews that we had, or one of our times together. And I told you, man, Barack. You know, I'm definitely a Barack supporter, bruh.
Are you happy right now with the results that are coming in?
Well, I see it's very close. Florida's still not 100%, and Barack just got New Hampshire, which was much needed. Colorado is still up in arms. Missouri, Minnesota, and a few of the other states. But he did clinch Pennsylvania. I was pleased at that. And if North Carolina can just, if the African American turnout comes out across like it has in Broward and Dade County down in Florida just an hour ago, then hey, we look like we'll clinch Florida.
Well, what about where you and I sit, Ted? Ohio.
Ohio, yes, truly, Ohio is equally as important as Florida. But I think with Sherrod Brown winning the state Senate seat, that's indicative of a lot of Republican upsets. And I'm so pleased for Mr. Brown. He has done, I don't know anything about his the incumbent Josh, I mean not the incumbent, but Josh, whatever his name is.
Mandel.
Sherrod Brown has definitely had his face in the state of Ohio.
Absolutely. Ted, at the end of the night, do you believe Ohio will be in the Obama category, or will we be counting the votes for weeks and weeks?
Well, I'll just put it to you this way, Scott. I believe the African-American turnout will be in numbers, maybe at the last call, but I believe, yes, Ohio is Barack, contrary to what has changed, but we'll have that in years to come. Let's see if Obama can untie some of the knots that he had in his first 4 years.
You know, Ted, it's very interesting to get your perspective on this, because I am not African American. I don't know. We've had nobody on tonight who is. What has it meant these past 4 years having the first African American president?
Well, I tell you, it was a long time coming. It was, personally speaking now, I don't talk a lot of politics, but I will say it was a long time coming, whether Hillary would have been a great choice or Barack. I would have went for either, which I did go for one, but, if I had a choice between the two. But I said that to say this, it was, outside of the fact that it was a long time coming, being an African American brings a sense of proudness. He hasn't changed, and he's got a what it's like to be able to clinch both sides of this fence that he's on, and he clinches them both adequately. In other words, his communication skills are great. Barack is truly someone to make a black person proud. Whether you ain't never been proud about anything else, whether you never thought about Nat Turner or Marcus Garvey or the names go on, Frederick Douglass and all, think something about this. Barack Obama, our first black commander-in-chief.
Ted, I have a personal question for you. We all know your story. 4 years ago, where were you on election night?
Only Scott Spears can do this one. He pulls some rabbits out of the hat. Listen, 4 years ago when Barack had won, I believe I was over a friend of mine, a very dear friend of mine, waiting for, in other words, waiting for the results as I am tonight. it was more of a clinching. We had the sign of relief spots. So I was with a friend of mine, believe it or not. Probably had smoked about $150 to $200 worth of crack already, and was waiting for the presidency. So in the loop, I've always been a person that wanted to be in the loop. I'm a very thoughtful person, even when I was homeless, and I always wanted to make sure that I started my day off with either the Today Show or CBS News up to the minute, late night, or just have the 6:30 report from CBS. That was or NBC. I'm sorry, with Brokaw. That's where my sources of information and everything. Channel 4 in the day, Channel 4 evening news, and that's how that went. So, with that being said, that was where I was 4 years ago.
Ted, it's very interesting because a lot was made this election season about this 47% Mitt Romney seemed to feel that he couldn't reach. Now, I would think that somebody who was homeless in the last 4 years, I don't know if he was including that in the 47%. I can't speak for him. But what do you make of that statement? How does that make you feel?
Well, he doesn't count derelicts. I guess I was a derelict. Non-responsive to any type of voting. I just didn't count. I think a lot of homeless people walk by them and say they just don't count. But if there's enough support amongst crackheads, in other words, if crackheads unite homeless people in shelters and in VA hospitals and various psychiatric clinics and standing on highways at I-71 and Hudson, we need to unite and educate one another to come in numbers and start voting and start serving on jury duties and so forth. Trying to, not everybody is just totally lost.
Ted, one more question here before I let you out of here on election night. There's a lot made of this $250,000 number that Barack Obama plans to let the tax cuts expire for people making over $250,000 a year. Mitt Romney wants to continue those tax cuts for those people. People say the middle class doesn't exist. I certainly don't know what your finances are in 2012, and I don't know what they were in 2008. But where do you come down on that $250,000 mark? Should people above that be given the tax breaks, or should they be allowed to expire?
No, I think it would open up the door if he's trying to take that money that was earmarked for military presence overseas and all that, and close down a few of these unwanted, bases throughout the world. Just pull out and go home. We'll have money to be able to do that. I don't want them to tax the poor people to make sure that rich people have a easy road on taxes.
Yeah, I think a lot of people feel that way. Ted, it is my great pleasure to be with you via telephone. I miss having you in the studio, but I know you'll be back eventually. It's always my dear pleasure, and I do consider you a dear friend, and very glad that I met you and the relationship has continued.
Are a true person who is dedicated to trying to get some deals and things worked out and informing people on just about it's called the Scott Spears, Getting to Know with Scott Spears.
Thank you, Ted.
All right, partner. Hey, call me.